and all of those wonderful things. You know who else is concerned with that? With the folks at the Old Farmer's Almanac. It's what they're all about, after all. And we get a chance today to talk to the editor-in-chief of the Garden Guide, who is with us this morning. The Old Farmer's Almanac Garden Guide is out. We talked with Carol Connare this morning, and our visit is presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Carol, there's just a wonderful series of pictures of all these little critters that are eating up my garden. They're not exactly the cutest folks in the world, are they?
No, I think that they sometimes are. Well, sometimes they're pretty colorful, but I think when you know what they do and you see them eating your food, you think of them as not very attractive at all.
But identifying just what is attacking, even when they're so small that you can't even see them with the naked eye, it seems sometimes. That's a tricky proposition. But the Garden Guide helps us to do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you can just look and see what's happening with the foliage on your plants, and that'll be enough to tell you what pest is among your beautiful plants. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes you can see them also, and that makes it a little bit easier to identify, of course. But yeah, they this time of year is when we gardeners really get to know our pests up close and personal.
Yeah, we really do. So a part of the Garden Guide this year is What's Eating My Plants, where you show us the pest, you describe the damage that they can do, the common host plants for this particular thing. For instance, of course, everybody here around Western PA, we get the Japanese beetles, and they come in hordes, it seems, and they chew up things, and we know what they look like. But you do that. You break it down for us, and it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, we're all sort of looking at, what can I do, right? Okay, now that I know what they are, also, So, okay, let's identify them, and then you can apply the right sort of strategy, which, when you think about taking care of pests, there's really just a few different ways. There's things you can apply to the plants. There's other plants you can plant nearby or attract things that will eat those bad bugs or the ones you don't want. There's a sort of physical protection, like, row covers. Like there's not, and then there's like that's about it, right? I mean, maybe you have a dog if your pests are in the mammal variety, but I think that. When you think about it, if you're having an organic garden, what you're really looking for is what can I do that's kind of also at hand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you help us to understand what it is you can do. For instance, we mentioned Japanese beetles. Hand pick in the early AM, use neem spray, and beneficial nematodes can help you with the Japanese beetles as well. And so you break it down for us pretty cleanly.
Yes, and also I would say that you could plant tansy. Tansy is something that Japanese beetles don't like, and they'll stay away from. So that's another way to go if people have that available to them. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, some of those insects, though, aren't as easily identifiable to us as Japanese beetles. Everybody knows what they're like, but aphids are one, leaf miners, spider mites, those tiny little things that we have no idea they're there, and some of them are on the underside of the leaf too.
Right, you'd have to sort of see what they've secreted. Maybe there's like for white flies, you'll sort of have a sticky, sooty black mold kind of looking thing on the plants. What was the other one you were just mentioning that we can't
miners.
See?
The leaf miners.
The leaf miners, right? I mean, they're like blisters on the leaves, and those are caused by, it's kind of gross, but the tunneling larva. So, you have to remove those leaves. Again, these are things like maybe, you're using row covers if they really are a problem. Mm-hmm. So rotating crops, I think that's one of the big ones that I find in my own garden is to kind of outwit those pests. I move things around even to other parts of the yard where they haven't found them yet.
You see, you're much smarter than I am, though. You can do that. I would be outwitted by an aphid every single day. Those guys are so smart.
Well, I've been outwitted by deer. if we're talking about pests of that kind, they are, we have a line in the garden guide. It's something like, nothing but a 10-foot moat filled with orcas, will keep the deer away. And other than that, you're sort of on your own.
Yeah, and then those orcas, they're so sloppy that, they cause their own problem.
Right.
Especially when they're out there in your yard like that. I mean, getting the mower around them,
those orcas.
they're their own kind of pest.
They really are.
But they're not microscopic. We'll give them that.
You can see them.
So tell me about the 2025 Garden Guide, because it's loaded as usual with all kinds of wonderful features.
Well, yes. So the 2025 Garden Guide, we come out every January, and we really think of ourselves as sort of the gateway drug, for gardeners. We just fill it with beautiful photos and tips and tricks. And so this year we have, as every year we start out with all kinds of trends, thinking about what are trends in gardening, why are people really going for container gardening? What are some hot plants? And even what we were just talking about, what are some heirloom varieties, for instance, that might, of tomatoes or peppers that, might be, pest resistant. We're finding there's a lot of trends for that. So we cover those things. We actually have a story in the 2025 guide called "These Hacks Are Whack," and this is a wonderful writer, Steve Bender. He's the grumpy gardener from the South, and that's his nomenclature. And talking about when you read things on TikTok, like, just add vinegar. It seems like if you saw something on Instagram, like if you just had vinegar, you'd get rid of every problem in your garden. Well, not so fast, Same with, we love the one about cinnamon. Now, cinnamon does have some pest repellent properties, but, you'll find people on Instagram or influencers saying, like, just do cinnamon sticks end to end around your house and the pests are gone. So not so much, so we kind of debunk some of these myths and tell you sort of the good old standard things that actually work in the garden. And then we have a great story I think is a great story about planting fall vegetables. So, don't give up. Another way, sometimes pests are at certain times in the garden. And if you plant a fall crop, you're going to avoid them. So that's another idea.
Yeah. And, cinnamon's really good on an apple dumpling. We're certainly aware of that.
Multi-use.
Not so much. And the fall gardening idea is something that a lot of folks, we just don't consider it, because we get toward the end of August and into September. We think garden season's over, or it's near the end. It's just harvest time now. But we can still get a lot into and out of the garden when we plant in the fall.
Especially, cold-loving crops that, in the spring we think of our peas and our spinach and arugula or things like that. Well, those are short. Those are innesses to maturation, and so you pop those in August, or September when it's starting to cool. And depending on what your zone is, I don't know what you are out there in Western Pennsylvania, but you might not have a frost. Kale's frost resistant. You can go into November probably.
Yeah.
So it's nice to think about those things, especially, I find one of the hardest things about pests when I was thinking about talking to you in gardens generally is, God forbid you go away for a week, and then you come home and either something has, eradicated your garden, or a new pest has come in, or your bounty. Sometimes things grow too big. So it's like, this kind of penance of going away from your garden. So in the fall, schedules tend to be less vacation oriented. So it's also nice that you can garden in the fall and not worry so much about going away.
Yeah. We're pretty much in 6A, 6B in that area here.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
I used to be in 6A, 6B. I'm more in like a 5A right now.
Oh yeah.
It's a little different. Got to tell you, a zone makes a difference, right?
Yeah, it really does. Really does. And so that's something that we can consider as we think about gardening and the garden guide. Now, it's still available, even though it came out in January, right?
It is. It's everywhere, and it's never too late to start. My tomato plants are looking a little lackluster, and I'm like, I might go and see if there's a few more to put in. It's not too late, Speaking of zones, when they redid the hardiness zones, almost everywhere in North America got about half a zone warmer. So people can use those times, to grow. So it's available everywhere, and also a fantastic place to go and get gardening information any time of year is almanac.com. It's free, and we've been putting up some really cool new tools, like if you are a container gardener, how much, what's the size container do you need for a certain vegetable? Mm-hmm. We have a new tool to tell you that. You need mulch and try to figure out how much mulch do I need? We have a calculator for you. So we've been releasing some new tools really in response to what we hear from readers.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things we think about with the Almanac is you get toward the end of the year, you're starting to think about the new year, but the Almanac, it's an all-year book.
It is, and so our classic yellow book, we just we're on press with 2026. That will be everywhere for sale at the end of August, and then the garden guide is as I said, our kind of midwinter, really early winter, and it's coming out in January. Is when you're starting to think about what am I doing in the garden this year?
Yeah. And if we got it about last winter, and we were looking forward to doing things in our garden, maybe taking advantage of some of the tricks and other ways that we can approach our gardens. Now we can see the results of that coming true.
Exactly, and I think gardeners know it's if you're a real gardener, it's really year round, and you're already thinking of ideas. The hazard of my job is we're working on the 2026 garden guide, and every time we do a story, I'm like, I need to try that. Like I've never grown beans for drying. I've only grown for fresh picking, mm-hmm. And so we have a story in the 2026 guide that's all about growing beans for drying, and so I put a bunch of those varieties in this year. We'll see how it goes. Like you said, we're all checking in now.
Now I can't wait to because I want to try that. I think that would be cool to try.
Exactly.
All
right? And then they last. Like if you dry them properly, they have a long shelf life, and then can serve as beans to grow the following year.
Yeah, nice.
Always something new.
Old Farmer's Almanac. Give that website again because, like you said, it's up there every day.
Almanac.com.
Beautiful. Carol, thanks so much. It's been fun.
Great to be on with you.
Have a great day today.
Take care.